Yo, what's up, guys? It's me, Xavier, joined with.
Jess, hello everybody. How is everyone?
I'm fine, thank you. Jess, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. Comment down below how you're feeling, peeps. It's Christmas soon. Oh my God.
Exactly, exactly. Unfortunately, today, as you can tell from the title, we're not doing a Christmas episode as there was already a Christmas episode before, as well as me and Jess. We do have some Christmas films we like here and there, but we don't think we could dedicate an entire episode towards it. So, again, you know, let us know your favorite Christmas films in the comments down below. But today's episode will be the final episode of 2022, and today's episode today's episode will be dedicated to our lists of top five films and TV shows of the year. But before that main topic of discussion, we do have some news as well as some recently watched TV shows and films that we're going to discuss and talk about first. So I haven't watched anything recently. Jess, you have, so take it away.
Okay, well, the first thing I watched recently, like the thing I watched least recently, I guess, but I've just finished it, is this recent series Wednesday on Netflix right now. Um, Came out on the 23rd of November, and I actually at that around that time didn't pay attention to what was coming out anytime soon. So I pretty much started watching it about 2 weeks before this episode is being uploaded, something like that. And so yeah, it was an interesting series. Obviously a spin-off of the original, obviously a spin-off of the original Addams Family. It was written by Charles Addams, Miles Miller, and Alfred Gough. Very good writing, really, really interesting story. I really did enjoy the majority of it. There were elements I think were a bit over the top and a bit too fantastical, but that comes with things like that, I guess. It's such a weird film to what film. It's such a weird series to watch in this time of year, but it's kind of the kind of thing that I like. I quite like a lot of horror thriller, and Wednesday actually fits into that those genres, which is quite nice. It got a 72% critic score, which is quite good. But I was very surprised at the how close the critic score and the audience score was with this one, because I thought the critics would moan about like the intricate elements of the story. To be honest, the characters interacted really well, and you could relate to them quite well. Um, but yeah, the audience percentage on Rotten Tomatoes was 86%, which I agree with pretty much. I might have put it a bit higher, but yeah, it was interesting to see that actually. I thought the critics would put it down to about 60%, considering the amount of effects that were used and things like that. The twists at the end were incredible. So if you haven't seen it already, go and watch it because it's really, really interesting the twists and turns the story takes, and you never know what's coming up next. But yeah, I enjoyed it. But then another thing that I watched recently, something completely different. It's still a series, but it's more so a documentary, a true story. I don't usually watch true stories, to be honest, but yeah, I recently watched the Meghan and Harry documentary. I haven't finished it yet because it only came out on the 8th of December, and life is busy around Christmas. So yeah, I've been watching that recently, and so far it's interesting. It's interesting to see a different side to the royal family, and obviously they aren't working members of the royal family anymore. Well, Harry isn't anymore. So it's interesting to see him so relaxed because I've grown up seeing him quite I guess quite involved with the royal family in general, and He was always the one everyone looked up to, I think, because I mean, and he still is, because he's so much more down to earth than the rest of the members of the royal family. So it's interesting to see kind of behind the scenes and his a bit of his personal life, really. I'm incredibly surprised at the critic and the audience rating for this, because so far I'm not finding it that bad, but the critic rating was only 50%. I kind of get it though, because there's a lot of people that are picking sides when it comes to Meghan and Harry and everything that happened with them. And the audience gave it a 12%, so very low, very low. I was incredibly surprised, because I thought, you know what, it's fairly educating in like what their life is like, the rules and regulations they have to go through, and how different their life is. And it's it's one of those things, like, I think it's important people watch it just to see a different side to the royal family, so they don't jump to conclusions about them. So yeah, it was interesting, the perspective and everything. But I'm very surprised at the ratings that the critics and the audience gave. But yeah, that's kind of what I watched recently, and I'm hoping more good series come out soon, because I tend to watch more series than I do films, which I find interesting. But yeah, comment down below if you've watched Wednesday or Meghan and Harry's documentary. They're on Netflix if you haven't watched them already. Free to see as long as you've got the subscription. So yeah, go and check them out. And yeah, I hope you enjoy them if you haven't already, and comment your opinions below if you have. So yeah, Zavi, would you like to talk about recent news in the film industry?
Yes, I mean, well, there has been a lot of, and I mean a lot of news recently. But before that, I was going to quickly say, was it does Wednesday? Wednesday stars Jenna Ortega, doesn't it? I presume, is that, am
Yeah,
I correct?
yeah. So the main
Yeah.
character's played by Jenna Ortega,
Mm,
and she's been in quite a few things before that, obviously.
yeah. Yeah.
But
I was gonna say
she's
she's
around our age. She's around our age, which
it's,
is
it's
crazy.
crazy. Yeah,
Mad.
because I think, well, what I've seen, at least she's become more public, or at least more well established recently. So I guess she has been a upcoming actress, and I mean, I'm interested to watch that show because it's also directed by Tim Burton, who I love his creative style. But
Yeah,
with what you've told me, I may have to give that a watch.
yeah,
Uh, but but yeah, so film news. There's been a lot when it comes to DC, and I mean a lot, as I've stated. There's been a lot when it comes to the new plans for DC, because there's been a lot of rumblings behind the scenes with lots of different sources saying different things. But before I'm going to go into all of this controversial stuff, I did just remember this one piece of news that I'm so excited for. And that piece of news is that so we have director Todd Phillips posted the first photo from the production of Joker Folie à Deux on Instagram, commenting day one, ah boy.
Mhm.
And the photo includes the one and only legendary Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck, aka the Joker, um, having a shave in Arkham Asylum. So I'm so excited for Joker Folie à Deux. This is the sequel to Joker 2019, if many of you don't know. And I've heard for a while now that this film was meant to start production around this timing anyway. And just to see the first teaser image posted on Todd Phillips' Instagram page, it's just super exciting. As well as it's pretty much, well, we expect that Lady Gaga, well, it's been confirmed that she will be playing the one and only Harley Quinn. So I really hope that, like for Joker, the first Joker film, we got a test footage of Joker, just testing out the makeup and things. And I really hope we get something similar for Lady Gaga, as I think it would be really good to just breadcrumb us, because this film isn't coming out to 2024 October 4th, which is crazy because they're doing the 5 year. They're doing, like Joker 1 released 5 years before the second one, which is so, it is annoying because obviously I am just so excited for this film, but in the image, it just captures Joaquin's incredible presence, as well as, the lighting, as well as just the overall feel, just feels so dark, as well as his eyes look so emotional. I don't really know how to describe it, but I'm just incredibly excited because Joker 2019 is one of my favorite films of all time, and I'm just incredibly intrigued to see what Todd Phillips and Joaquin bring to the sequel, which again is meant to release October 4th, 2024. But the big piece of news was dropped from the Hollywood Reporter on the 7th of December, and the head of the title is Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3 not moving forward as DC movies hit turning point. So if many of you don't know, James Gunn, who's well known for directing the Guardians of the Galaxy films, as well as Peter Safran, are in the final stages of prepping their multi-year plan for the DC universe. As well, they have the presentation showing CEO of Warner Brothers, David Zaslav. They're meant to be having that presentation very soon, and this report just comes out with so many big facts. So the first thing is that multiple sources have said Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3 is considered dead. As well as it's been heard that she gave the script for Wonder Woman 3 to the CEOs of they handed in the treatment and the script, and apparently they weren't satisfied with the script, and they have given her the opportunity to redo the script, but apparently she didn't take that very well, and she sent them an email linking the Wikipedia page for the definition of a character arc. So that's very controversial, as Patty Jenkins directed Wonder Woman 1, which was a great film. I must say, I do understand why that film was a really strong start to Wonder Woman's journey. The second film got a lot of controversy. I haven't watched the second film, but I feel that, just to hear that opinion alone, that she was so set in stone on her script and not willing to rewrite it or listen to any of them, is quite a big, that's quite a big, statement from her. But what makes this piece so confusing is that the day before this article came out, the actress who plays Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, posted a picture of her and saying, I'm so grateful I have this role of Wonder Woman, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. So that's also very misleading and confusing, as well as, I think, again, what I've heard, Wonder Woman 3, I doubt that it won't be a film because, again, the first one was incredibly successful. So I think Warner Brothers will make a third one just with a different director. But that was, quite a big piece of news, as well as some other pieces of news is that it's apparently rumored that even though, as you saw, Jess, we got Henry Cavill back as Superman in Black Adam for that one post-credit scene, which, again, I loved. And he even posted a video on social media saying he is back as Superman. There was no contract made. And even though there were rumblings that, Man of Steel 2 is in early development, script writers and everyone, are bringing their ideas to the table. There was even speculation that the director of the upcoming Flash film, which is meant to be releasing on the 16th of June, 2023, Andrew Muschietti, apparently pitched Warner Brothers, or at least he was interested of possibly directing Man of Steel 2. But with Henry Cavill's role, it's very up in the air right now, which in itself is just incredibly concerning. As if you don't know, Jess, we've been so in the dark with Henry's return for such a long time, as there hasn't been, no confirmation, and it's been 11 years, almost. I mean, almost. It's coming up 10 years since we've got a Superman film, which is quite mental to say. And I mean, apparently, Henry Cavill filmed a cameo for The Flash, but reports say that Warner Brothers don't know if they are going to include his cameo in The Flash or not. So again, it's such a shame because he came back in Black Adam, but what happened was, and this may be a little bit more, this may explain more why. Black Adam was a part of the old DC regime, was a part of the old scheme. And the head of Warner Brothers were already, leaving. So they pretty much told Dwayne The Rock Johnson, do whatever the hell you want. But James Gunn and Peter Zaslav, the new overlookers of DC, didn't have a say in that. They didn't have a say in that whatsoever. So that's, again, all up in the air. As then we also have news about Jason Momoa, who plays Aquaman. There's been a lot of speculation that he actually may not play Aquaman after Aquaman 2, which is Aquaman 2: The Lost Kingdom, and that he may play another DC character called Lobo. So I don't know too much about Lobo as a DC fan, but I think many people have stated that he would be the perfect fan casting for that character, which I can understand and respect. But it's incredibly confusing when it comes to all of this article, as it's not clear if DC are fully rebooting everything, or if there's going to be a recast, or what things they're going to keep or not going to keep. And I think in the past couple of days, James Gunn has stated that he responded and he said, some things are true, some things are false, some things are half true. So he's very much keeping us in the dark, but he did say that Superman is their main priority, and if not the main, if not the main priority, which is a little bit reassuring. But I think at first, as I said, when this article came out, there was a lot of speculation that they would be doing a full reboot. And I personally do not want to see that. I can understand that they want to have a plan moving forward, and I respect that. So they're planning on having different storylines incorporated with films, TV shows, as well as video games, all together to create this universe. But I think, again, we're not going to find out this news for a little bit of time because, again, the fact that they're going to speak to Warner Brothers again, as I mentioned, they're going to have the meeting. I don't know. Again, we can be looking at months until we find out the plan moving forward with DC. I'm not too worried about it now because I don't think there will be super bold changes. Like, I think, again, there's still a good chance that Henry may be back as Superman, but it's more the fact of just moving forward, what will be the different tone as well as what will be the main idea. And I trust James Gunn because I did love the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, and I agree that they're taking time, and the decisions that they're making, they are considering the fans and everything. But again, well, one piece of positive news, and which I'm very happy about, is that the Batman universe created by Matt Reeves will not be touched, which is amazing. As I don't think I was concerned, but it's more the fact that a lot of people have been quite worried. But Warner Brothers gave Matt Reeves the full reins to this Batman universe. As I've stated in previous episodes, he's already talking to people about more spin-off shows. Possibly he's currently writing the script for the Batman 2 as we speak. So that's a massive win. But I would say to anyone who is concerned with everything with DC, I would say just hold your hats until everything is official. when it comes to the news, and until James Gunn and Peter Saslav, I mean, have told us the full plan moving forward. But yes, Jess, I mean, as you've heard, as someone who isn't a DC fan, it has been very messy. But does this intimidate you for someone who isn't into DC? Like, what does this do to you?
I mean, yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot happening, clearly. It's very intriguing. Um, like it makes me more likely to want to watch things, but at the same time, hearing you talk about the whole possibility of a reboot, I don't know. I feel like that's a massive risk for DC to do if they were to do it. And no, I'm not an expert, obviously, because I don't know, and I haven't watched
Mm,
any DC related things. But a reboot just sounds incredibly risky, and it
hmm.
sounds like something like it could go either way. It could go really badly, or it could go really well, depending on the team that's put together to create a kind of, I guess, new era for DC. Um, I mean, yeah, I definitely want to get more into DC. It's just finding the
Mm.
time to do that and
Of
be able
course,
to
of course.
appreciate it as well. Because I know it's
Mm,
very, I know with like Batman, for example, I've heard lots from you, but from other people, and I've also seen visuals. And it's one of those things I want to be able to appreciate. I want to watch it
yeah,
and appreciate every cinematic decision that they've made because it looks pretty incredible. And I'm glad that they're not gonna touch the Batman and the like
universe, yeah, because
universe. Yeah.
Joker, yeah, same with Joker 2, because I mean, Joker 2 had a 55 million budget and made over $1 billion at the box office, which is just like just mental to think about. But yeah, to make it more confusing to you, Ben Affleck, sorry, was the original Batman in the DC universe. Um, so they're DCEU, but then Robert Pattinson is the Batman in his own separate universe, which I think Warner Brothers, they should not touch that. As again, I don't think Matt Reeves would be happy. But yeah, I think that again, this report, I think again, the Hollywood Reporter is a very reliable source when it comes to film news and everything. But as you said, I don't think they will go to the extent of rebooting the entire franchise. I just think they may take some creative decisions, as well as they may change some storylines or make
Mm.
some things that, again, as he stated, it won't make everyone happy, which I think everyone will expect. But I think all they will do is just, they'll take elements that the fans love from the DCEU and take over to that, new plan, and then they will leave all the stuff that the fans don't like. So
Hopefully.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's important to listen to the fans as well because obviously we've had The Rock do that recently with Black Adam. He listened to the fans
mm,
there, and
exactly.
it didn't end up being that bad. Like it's good to hear what your audience think and take that on board. And I feel like if I mean I don't want to bring Marvel in here, but I
Of
don't think
course.
they do it enough. And that's where I think it would be a good move for DC if they were to do, I guess, a reboot to an extent on certain bits, but listen to the fans and create something they would like, you know? It would make
Exactly.
more
I
sense
agree.
to do that.
Yeah,
And it'll make me as a non-DC fan, like I'm not against DC. That makes me sound like I'm against it, but I'm not. I haven't like had the opportunity to watch anything really. Well, I've watched a few things, but I haven't had a huge amount of opportunity to watch it all.
of
So
course.
I'd be more likely and more inclined to make the effort to watch it and put time aside to watch DC films and series and whatever. Um, if they did something that I know is listening to the fans, because it will be interesting as a filmmaker to watch something that's been influenced by the people that watch it, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. And all that just reminds me another piece of news. There is also rumblings that we don't know if Black Adam has made profit or hasn't made profit at the box office, which
Mm,
also states in this article that a Black Adam sequel is unlikely. Or again, it's all up in the air. So I
mm,
think everything is unclear, but I think fans, like, I remember when the news came out, I was very shocked, but I didn't take everything necessarily like literal until James Gunn did come out on Twitter and say some things.
mm.
But again, this plan, we will hear the roadmap for DC's future in the next coming months or so. Which again, when that news comes out, we'll cover it on this podcast. But
For sure.
yeah, I would say don't take everything for granted just yet. As I said, the Hollywood Reporter is a reliable source, but I think at the same time, plans are still changing and big decisions are still to be made.
Mm.
But that is the big news of this episode. And that leads us on to the main topic of today's video, which is our top 5 films and TV shows of the year. So in this segment, me and Jess will be talking about our top 5 films and shows of the year from 5 to number 1. So 5 being the last, 1 being our favorite. But we will also sprinkle in some honorable mentions that didn't make the list, as well as our worst film or least favorite film or TV show of the year. So I think let's start off with the worst film or worst show or least favorite. So, Jess, would you like to go first?
Sure, why not? So my least favorite film of the year, and I know the year's not fully ended just yet, but I mean, there's not going to be much more this year. But my least
Mm.
favorite film this year was one that I went to the cinema to see, which was a bit annoying. But it was the film Nope. And I don't know. I didn't like it at all because it was too fantastical. None of it made sense. None of it linked. Like it linked sections of it linked. It just felt like two different films slot together for no reason. And it just didn't work. It didn't work as a film. As much as the actors were amazing, the story just it didn't make any sense to me. I've been told it's meant to have linked in some way, it was very difficult to decipher, and I don't think many people could work it out. So, yeah, I guess comment down below if you know how the beginning and the ending kind of linked and the middle as well, because I don't know. I was so confused when I came out that film, to be honest. It was so random. But yeah, that was my least favorite film of the year. Hopefully we don't get any films next year that are the same. And don't we don't have to kind of reiterate what we've already said when it comes to Nope. Anyways, Abby,
Of
what was
course.
your least favorite film this year?
Well, before I go on the track quickly, I just want to clarify that some films haven't come out yet that that could have made our list. So, for example, I've been interested in watching Glass Onion and Brandon Fraser in The Whale, but unfortunately, they haven't come out yet, and due to things and everything with the holiday season, that's why we're recording this episode now. And also,
Mhm.
this is all our personal opinions. This is nothing against the directors, actors. No one. This is just what we think. And again, we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. But my least favorite film of the year is Thor: Love and Thunder. So ever since Marvel Phase 4 or the early days of Marvel Phase 4, I have gradually gone off Marvel. And the only films I was excited for were No Way Home and Love and Thunder, because Love and Thunder is directed by Taika Waititi, who directed the Thor Ragnarok, which I thought was a great film that balanced comedy as well as it had some elements of sympathy as well as everything else. I really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok as it balanced the elements of humor really well as the emotional beats, as well as some of the scenes with Thorin as well. Like, I think they balanced the comedy. The comedy hit for me, as well as just like there was some really funny jokes and really just funny scenes in general. And I thought it was just this really fun film overall. So I did have high hopes coming into Love and Thunder, and to be honest with you, to say the least, I was really disappointed. I thought the visual effects in the film were were awful. They made Thor too much of a comedic character and, made him too much of a joke. And I think a lot of the comedic beats in this film didn't really hit. And it was so disappointing as well with Christian Bale, because I think he was a big part why I was so excited, because he's a very specific actor for what films he goes for. And I was, super excited because I thought for a film like this, with Christian Bale being assigned to playing the villain, I thought it would have been a you know, real home run, as well as Natalie Portman. But I felt the film itself didn't have too much weight to it as I wanted to, because both Gore and Jane Foster have emotional stories, and that can be really powerful, but they really didn't give us enough time with either of them. And I thought the tone of the film just really took it away, and that's the saddest part for me, because I thought that they had it all there to make a really powerful, impactful story, and I think that they just completely missed it by a margin, and by a long shot. Sorry, and I was really disappointed, to say the least. I think the only scene I did like was when they were in the Shadow Realm fighting Gore. I thought that was when the visual effects were pretty good, and I thought the romantic scene with Thor and Jane Foster on the way to the Shadow Realm was also quite nice. But it was more that I wanted to see more heartfelt moments, as well as wanted it to be more of a mature film because of the topics they discuss when it comes to religion and believing in gods, as well as Jane Foster having cancer. So I really wanted them. I just think they had so much potential, and I think they just blew it for me, and it was just such a shame to see what Thor has kind of become.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I
agree.
think.
Yeah, it's one of those films, that it was I think they had a massive opportunity, as you said, to really relate to some real human struggles, like struggles that a lot of people have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And it's good they included it, because it's important these days that we stay true to daily life as well as having the fantasy elements. But at the same time, yeah, they just did not cover it very well. They didn't do it justice, I guess, is the best way to put that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that they were our two least favorite films of the year. Yeah,
Honorable mentions now. Honorable mentions. We'll
yeah.
talk about quickly.
So we have honorable mentions. I only have two honorable mentions because
Same.
there were only two films slash series that I couldn't quite put in the right place on the list. My first one was Limitless. So that's the new I think it's National Geographic that made it. A new series on, I think it's on Disney Plus.
Is it
Correct me
with
if
Chris
I'm wrong.
Hemsworth?
Yeah. So it's the one with
Yes, it
Chris
is on Disney
Hemsworth, and
Plus.
it's the one with Chris Hemsworth, and he basically fights his fears and things that he you would usually wouldn't want to face. He pushes his limits, hence the name Limitless, and yeah, basically he's trying to become a healthier person. And I think it's such an empowering, I guess, story. He has a story about why he's doing it and that, and it's so empowering to watch. It makes you think, what if I could do that? I mean, the first episode is about his fear of heights, and I relate to that on another level, because I have a massive fear of heights, and watching him go through the process of learning to deal with the stress involved with facing that kind of fear was really interesting to me. And I've actually taken on board some of the things that he was recommended, slowing your breathing and different things like that. But definitely go and watch it on Disney Plus if you haven't already. It's a really, really good one, very good educational little series, and a very, very good watch if you have fears like a fear of heights, because you never know, you could learn something that could help you and you could get over your fears as well. But yeah, that's one of my honorable mentions. Um what's your top honorable mentions, Abby?
So my top honorable mentions, I have two, very much like you, and one of them is a show, one of them is a film. So the show I that missed the top five list was Cobra Kai season five. So I haven't watched the original Karate Kid films. Yes, I know many people won't be happy about that. But what I love so much about Cobra Kai, it's very much like the Mandalorian. It's like the For me, it's like the Mandalorian, but for the Cobra Kai universe, because with the Mandalorian, they fill you in with plot details from the Star Wars universe, and they provide you, certain uses and information that would make sense. Very much like Cobra Kai. If you haven't watched the original Karate Kid films, they will show you, some flashbacks, or they'll show you, elements that will make the narrative work for the show. So the reason why it's an honorable mention was because season five, even though I enjoyed it so much, it's the 80s and modern day. It has teen drama, it has karate fights. It's so cool. I felt that this specific season did have some elements when it was a little bit operatic when it came to the story. There are some elements that weren't believable. That you think like, how would that actually happen without the police getting involved or something? But it's still super binge worthy. I love it. I mean, if I love the entire show as a whole. And I do love season five. I really, really do. But I think when it comes to my actual top five, it was tough to find a slot for it because, as I stated, there were some problems with it that I think I've seen some people like it a lot less than I have. I still really like it. I love the villain in the show, Terry Silver. He's become one of my favorite villains ever. I just feel like he's just such a badass, and I just love it because I watch it with my parents as well, and it's just kind of become like a tradition to watch, like binge watch it all together, which is really nice. So if you don't know where Cobra Kai is, it's on Netflix, and I really highly recommend watching it. Then the film that I've chosen for honorable mentions is the Banshees of Inisherin. So me and you just did recently watch this at the end of October, and the reason why I put it as an honorable mention was because I having more time to think about it. I did enjoy the film. I
Same.
did love how unpredictable it was, and I think for me, I love the simplicity and the beauty of the islands of Ireland and everything, with the story and some of the elements and some of the hidden meanings and some of the comedy as well. I really, really enjoyed, and I just wanted to mention it because, I mean, for someone who does love cinematography and who just loves seeing films shot on location, that's why the Banshees were up there with some great performances with Brandon Gleeson and Colin Farrell. So those are my two honorable mentions. Don't you have one more, Jess? Did you mention?
Well, actually, my second honorable mention is the same, the Banshees,
Mm-hmm.
purely because I absolutely love the cinematography, as you were talking about, Zabby. It's absolutely gorgeous, but I found it a little slow and difficult to
Mm.
get into. I felt myself trying not to fall asleep at points because I was waiting for something to happen. Now, I've explained this before. I'm the kind of person that can't watch a film that has too much talking in. I like a little bit of action, at least at parts through the film, at the least, really. Like it's one of those things I just can't sit and watch people talking and interacting. It doesn't appeal to me. But I think the cinematography and the scenery they used in the film was just
Mm.
stunning, and that's a reason why I'd have it if I could in my top five in my top five, but I just can't place it and can't compare it to the other films that I have in my top five. So yeah,
Of
for that
course.
reason, it is an honourable mention, like you, Zavi.
Yes.
Yeah,
Awesome. So now we will be getting into the top five segment. So starting with number five, would you like me to go first, Jess, or would you like to go first?
you can go first. I think you're once.
Okay. So my number five mention for films and TV shows of the year is Andor. So Andor did recently wrap up its final episode not too long ago, and the reason why it's number five was because I think when I first like watched the show, as I've stated, I think it's incredible when it comes to how they've blended, how they've created the worlds, because it's very much shot on practical sets, as well as they've blended CGI and on location stuff. So I know that they filmed some stuff in England. So they filmed stuff in, as mentioned, in London and things.
Mm.
And I love the overall atmosphere of the show. I love the gritty underworld side of Star Wars, and I love this era of the Empire rising. And I think the reason why it's number five, even though I think it's incredible when it comes to visual effects, the performances, the dialogue, the story, I think for me it just took quite a while for me to get used to it, because this Star Wars show very much built things up a lot. And I think even though I love the episodes and I appreciate everything, there were some episodes when it ended, I kind of said to myself, that's it. Like, is that it? And that's not a bad thing. That was more that it's, as I said, it's a very different formula and structure compared to other Star Wars shows like The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Kenobi. But I think the finale really hit a home run, and I just love seeing the early days of the rebellion and the overall atmosphere it created. I thought was just top class, and as I said, I really do like it. I think the reason why it is my number five was because it did take a while for me to get used to it. But I think
Mm.
if I had the chance to, I wish I could binge watch it, because I think if you were to binge watch it, it could be a completely different experience. But I think as Disney do release shows weekly, I think that it kind of separates things, because as I said, there were some episodes when they would have two build-up episodes, and then the third episode they would actually have the big thing to happen. So I think if you have a show that's very much constructed in that way, I think it would be better for releasing all the episodes at once. But no, I still thought it was an amazing show, and again, season two, I'm really excited for, and I'm excited to see where the Star Wars universe goes, especially with the direction of Tony Gilroy and Diego Luna as Cassian Andor. So that is my number five.
Damn, yeah, I'm surprised you put that as your number five because you talked about it in another episode.
Hmm.
Was you were quite enthusiastic about it, but I completely get what you're saying. Some TV shows and series and things, they work better if you binge watch them, and then you can understand the story better. You can see the links a lot better. And that's why I wait till things finish personally to be able
Mm-hmm.
to watch it. So yeah, my number five is She-Hulk because I did the exact same thing with She-Hulk. I waited till it finished and then watched it all. And unfortunately, I wouldn't put it higher in the list purely because there were things that I didn't like about it. There's so much I didn't like about it, I wouldn't specifically list it out now. But
Mm-hmm.
the main things were that um, there's a lot of parts of the story that were very kind of wishy-washy and boring. And they took a while to kind of get to a point in the story where something was actually happening. And there were like little things happening, but I mean, for the main action of the whole thing took a while, and it was quite funny towards the end, but that comedy wasn't carried through the whole thing. So I just didn't enjoy it as much as the other films on my list, to be honest. But yeah, that's my number five. There's not really much more I can say about it, to be honest. But yeah.
That's fair. That's fair enough. And to expand my point with Andor, yeah, I did really like it, but the other four things I do have on my list. I think just top it. I still thought it was an incredible show. But my number four pick is Prey. So Prey is a Predator film that was a released to Disney Plus, and I really loved it. It was an amazing film for what it was. As I said, it went straight to streaming, and I've only watched the original Predator film, which I love. It's just one of those great classic 80s films, and I just love the designs of predators anyway. And I love this concept of a predator, a predator story in the Native American times, in the early, in the 18th, in the 1800s and things. And I thought for a film that was a straight to streaming film, some of the cinematography was really great, and I think the practical effects for the actual predator costume was really cool, blended in with CGI. It was really well done, and I think it was just a really fun film. That was, again, it was a straight to streaming film. But I think that's the only things that I would say that kind of hurt it. I thought it was a great film, but I only said to myself, oh, I can imagine this on the big screen. I wish it did come out in cinema, because I think if it had a higher budget, I think there were some things they could have done better. I think the actors in the film, they speak they're Native Americans, but they speak like, just like normal American people, if you get what I mean. And
Yeah.
I understand why they went that way, and I think they were looking to like have to have like a Comanche voiceover, like have that as an option. But I think again, for what it was, I had a super fun time with it. I love the Predator design, and I know for a while there haven't been many great Predator films ever since the original. So I think to see a film that again had so much suspense and had so much going for it, um, as I said, a straight to streaming film, I thought it was great, and I think it succeeded at that very well. So that is why Prey is my number four.
Nice. That's interesting because I haven't seen that film at all. So I should probably watch it. It sounds
Mm,
interesting. But yeah, my number four is The Sandman, the series that was based on the original comic. I think it's an incredible series. Unfortunately, it wouldn't get higher because there are better things that I've watched, but it was still very,
mm,
very good. I think it was very clever with the visual effects. The story was really interesting. There were interesting twists. I loved the concept of the original comic with Dream's character and what his role was. So I loved. I'm not a massive. I mean, I like comics because it's my favorite form of book, but because it's easy to read and understand and very visual. But it's not obviously not as visual as a film, and so I loved the fact they turned it into a series. And again, I waited till that finished to be able to watch it. I'm not so keen on the last, I think it's the last episode or last two episodes, because it's they've made it a cartoon, but it doesn't link in with the rest of the story, which is
mm,
confusing to me. I don't know why they've done that. I can't find a reason why they did that, but yeah, it's weird. That's why I didn't place it higher. But I love the concept, and I love the fact they've taken a comic and put it straight into a series rather than making a comic a book and then the book a series or a film,
mm,
because it means that it goes straight from visual but a little wordy to completely visual, and you get a really good kind of moving picture of it. And I don't know, I just found it a really really interesting one, something very different to everything I've watched previously. So yeah,
mm,
thank you Netflix for
of
making
course.
that. It was very good. But yeah, Sabi,
Yeah.
number three.
Well, again, kind of backtracking quickly, I just did think about this point. If to be honest with you, if I binge watched Andor, or if Andor was a binge worthy show, I may have placed Andor higher than Prey. But I think because of that layout of releasing it weekly, I think that's why many people found it slow, and that's why I think that if I am planning of rewatching it, I think I would like to, but I think yeah, binge watching it, I think it would have been higher than Prey. I just wanted to put that out there. But my number three spot is Top Gun Maverick. So Top Gun
Ooh.
Maverick is the sequel to the original Top Gun film starring Tom Cruise, and I thought this film was an amazing sequel to the first. I thought that sequels are so tough to nail, as many people say. Many people say there's
Mm.
rarely films, at least there's rarely sequels that are better than the original or on par. And the reason why I love this film was because I had the chance to watch Top Gun, the original, in cinema because they were re-showing it, and I thought just rewatching it in cinema was so cool, and just to see some of the practical effects and just how they actually use real fighter jets and everything was really cool, and not relying so much on CGI, as well as I love the inclusion of Val Kilmer's Iceman in the film, because I love Val Kilmer in the original, and I love, was it Miles Teller? Is that his name, Miles Teller? I forgot.
Miles Teller, yeah.
Teller, yes, who plays Goose's son Rooster, who actually looks identical and actually looks like he
Yeah.
actually could be the son to Goose, was really good, and I just love that storyline, and I
Mm.
just loved how the film did such a good job with the pacing, and didn't skip any beats, and it did have callbacks, and it did have some bit of nostalgic love, but it wasn't in your face kind of thing. And they didn't even use the original Top Gun theme that much, but then when they did use it specifically at the end, um I remember when there was just such a powerful scene, um with Maverick and Rooster, and they actually play the original Top Gun theme, and it hit so hard. But I love the use of just also some of the character arcs in this film as well, when it comes to some of the side characters as well, which was really, really
Mm.
good. And I just admire it from a filmmaking point of view that they actually had the actors train, like did naval training for this film, and actually were like in cockpits of actual planes. It's astonishing to think about. And even though this film had so many delays because of everything that's happened in the past couple of years, it was certainly worth the wait. So that is why it's my number three spot.
Damn. Interesting. Very interesting. Because I have some very similar points, but I won't be saying them yet. And there's a good reason for it. My number three was Wednesday. So I would have put this higher, but I wasn't as intrigued with this one as I am with another one, which I put on number two. But I will talk to you guys about that in a bit. But Wednesday was a really good one, very recent, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think it was very creative. I love the spin-off of the original Addams Family, the different actors, the up-and-coming actors they included. The character development was really interesting. Really, really good series. I mean, I've got mostly series on my list, but that's something that I watch a lot more than anything else. But yeah, Wednesday was overall really, really good. Lovely visuals. The visuals were insanely cool. I love the lighting. I love the special effects with the hand. And yeah, that's kind of why I've put Wednesday at number three.
Awesome. Awesome. So my number two spot is also a series. So luckily, in my top five, I've had a blend of series and films.
Mm.
And my number two spot is The Boys season three. So The Boys season three was just balls to the walls when it comes to the action, the brutality, the story. I can't rate that show high enough. It's become one of my favorite shows. I love season one and season two, but season three somehow managed to exceed expectations. And this show, when it comes to characters like Homelander and Billy Butcher, played by the incredible Anthony Starr and Carl Urban, makes it so compelling and just makes you feel so unhinged at many points. It makes you laugh, as well as in the modern day with Marvel films and DC, you don't see them get their hands dirty. And what I love with The Boys is that it kind of gives you the concept of, if superheroes were real, this is how they would be like. They would, do drugs behind the scenes. They'd have a company owning all of them, marketing them, doing films, this and that.
Mm.
And I can't really put into words how great it is. I mean, my favorite episode of the season was called Hero Gasm. Take that for what you will. But I mean, it's literally is what you think it is. But I mean, when it just comes to, it's just, I can't describe it. It's just such an amazing show. And I also love the inclusion of Jason Ackles as Soldier Boy, who's also become one of my favorite characters in the show. I mean, they just do a phenomenal job of giving all the characters, like, you can, like, even with the most hateful characters, you can have somewhat sympathy towards them, and they all have compelling character arcs, and they all have layers to their characters, and the acting from everyone is just amazing. The visual effects as well is very great. And I mean, just some of the things they do in the show, you just can't help but laugh, and you can't imagine seeing it in any other show. And because of that, The Boys season 2, well, it is my favorite show of the year. Because I mean, I only have two shows on this list, but just the concept and what they've done, I just can't stop but loving it. I mean, it's just me talking about it now makes me want to rewatch all the seasons together, because the storytelling and just all the stories they have in this is just funny, as well as there's some dark scenes that, like, you would not expect. Like, there are some like oh dang, like that actually happens. And there's some scenes of when you're feeling uneased. There's some scenes when, you, as I said, you can't help but laugh. And there's some scenes that are just completely brutal, and it just all combinates in one amazing show. So The Boys season 3 is my number 2 on the list, and if you haven't watched it, it is available on Amazon. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but Prey as well is available on Disney Plus, and I think Top Gun Maverick is coming to Paramount Plus as well, if you do have that. But yeah, just wanted to mention that, because if any of you are interested in watching this on some of your streaming services, this is where you would find them. But The Boys season 3, my favorite show of the year, and one of my favorite shows of all time, at number 2.
Nice one. You're making me really want to watch it. So I've got to do it. I've got to do it. Sounds really
I mean, Jess, if you like Marvel and if you like superheroes, I mean, you have to at least give it a go.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Literally, it's so my thing. So I think I'm gonna love it too. So that's cool. Um, Yeah, no, I'm very intrigued. I'm so intrigued. I want to watch it now. There's so many things you told me to watch. I haven't got the chance to watch them yet, but they're blooming good things. I should just watch them. Why aren't I
You
watching them?
should. You should.
What am I doing? I'm missing out. I'm missing out.
Don't
But
worry
yeah,
about it. It's fine.
my number two of the year is The Watcher, the fairly recent series this year, on Netflix. A really good one. I felt myself getting really immersed in the story and really wanting the characters to do well in what they were doing. I was relating to the characters a lot, and I felt myself as well not wanting to leave my laptop to go to work. So with this series, it was very gripping. You wanted to know what was going to happen on the next episode each time, and I'm really, really hoping they do a season 2, because that would be so good. And they could bring another family into the mix. But yeah, it's a very, very good series, and I'm so glad I had time to watch it in a week, because I don't think I would have been able to wait very long between each episode. And yeah, it's got to be one of my favorites of the entire year. So yeah, that's why it's in my number two spot.
Awesome.
Anyway, we're on to our number ones. Let's see what we've got coming now. What's your number
So
one,
I
Abby?
well, I think you know what it is, Jess. I think I know your number one. But my number one spot goes to none other than The Batman, which was released on March 4th of this year, directed by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Jeffrey Wright, Paul Dano, Colin Farrell, as well as Andy Serkis. And oh my lord, this film was the Batman film I've been waiting for. I remember when the first teaser trailer of this film came out, I was blown away with everything. And I remember looking closely when the first ever leaked set pictures came out when they were filming in London, as well as, at certain studios around the UK or filming in Glasgow or Liverpool. I was constantly intrigued to, watch this film, as well as the hype and everything was just going through the roof. And I remember watching this film on the day it came out, and it was such an incredible day. It was a packed screening, and I remember I smiled all the way through the film. I really couldn't stop smiling. I couldn't stop having goosebumps. Just the way this film was made was just incredible. The use of the detective elements with Batman was incredible, as we haven't seen any live action Batman films that are like full detective stories. And this film, what makes it such an amazing film is that it's more than a superhero film. It has elements of a crime drama, it has elements of horror, it has, um, just so many complex elements that you know, just all combinates in this complex story, which um, that just makes this amazing atmosphere for Gotham City, which was really good because for me in the Nolan films, Gotham City kind of lost its character and just looked more like Chicago. But this film, you really can't place where it takes place at. They really do a great job of taking elements from certain comic books, which really adds to the story. The use of visual and practical effects was really well implemented in the film, as well as the overall the musical score for this film as well was incredible, which I really enjoyed. And everyone did an amazing job. Robert Pattinson, I have to say, is my favorite live action Batman now because of this film. He embodied the character. So I thought Zoe Kravitz as well did an amazing job as Catwoman, and I love Paul Dano with his unique take on the Riddler. Again, taking elements more of the serial killer approach. More having similarities to the Zodiac killer. Colin Farrell embodying the Penguin and becoming unrecognizable with some amazing prosthetic works, which should be nominated for Oscars, to be honest with you. And I thought Jeffrey Wright did an amazing job as Commissioner Gordon, as him and Robert Pattinson had some great scenes together with some amazing chemistry with that buddy cop relationship, which I really liked because I think that's a massive part for Commissioner Gordon and Batman, is to have that relationship. And I thought the Batmobile as well was just amazing. And the way the film just overall just laid itself out, I was just engulfed in that world and I didn't want to leave. And just the overall tone, the atmosphere, and the amazing cinematography from Greg Fraser is just breathtaking. And this is why I love films like The Batman. As many people think superhero films, they can be generic, yes, but you do have films like The Batman, which elevates it to a whole new level. And as I've said, as a massive fan of Batman, I was waiting for a more personal Batman story that goes into the detective elements more. And I can say Matt Reeves did deliver. So the Batman is my number one spot and takes the crown for my favorite film of 2022.
Wow. It actually sounds really good, to be fair. It's one that I would definitely be watching very, very soon. And I promise this time, I'll try and watch it before 2022 ends, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, my number one of 2022 is Top Gun Maverick. So I know was it your number three?
It
Um
was.
yeah, and so that's very interesting to hear coming from you, specifically because I know you're very into your cinematography and that, and it's very interesting to
Mm.
hear your opinion, and I totally agree with everything you said. I am absolutely in awe of the process they went through to create that film. Apparently, 8 years of preparations, filming, and not even just that, those two things. Like you got the editing, the effects to add, um, the arrangements to get the film going at the beginning. I think it was great that they did a revival of Top Gun, and that I think they pulled it off absolutely incredibly well. Obviously, it was directed by Joseph Kosinski, and it starred Tom Cruise, Miles Teller, Val Kilmer, and Glenn Powell as the kind of first four big main characters in the film. Really great acting. I love the character development of each individual character, and even some background characters. I love that they Tom Cruise trained his colleagues to fly the jets. I think that was an absolutely incredible touch, and it meant that they could create something so real to an extent. Like it was adding a reality to something that's not necessarily a true story. And I think it was so heartwarming as well, to see, like, you could tell just by watching the film how well the cast got on together. And I know they were playing characters obviously, but it just looked like a bunch of fun. It really did. And due to the fact I love the film so much, I did a drum cover of I Ain't Worried, by, I think it's by One Republic, if I'm
Yes,
wrong.
I think it is. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember because my brain's just, I've been doing
it's
so
just
much
dead.
since
Yeah.
that happened, and it's been a
Okay.
while. But I made a cover, and it was one of my most viewed covers on my channel, Jess Drums on YouTube, if you're interested. But yeah, it was interesting to see how well that cover did, because considering the film and everything, I obviously added the tags to the film, and it made it more popular. So I'm thinking, because I love music in films, and I loved how they used music in Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I do more drum covers of film scores, or film songs that they've songs that they've used in films, you know. I think it's just incredible how now we've got so many opportunities to use other people's songs, or people write songs for films, and they used it in such a good way this time round, and it was really uplifting. And I just, watching that scene with I Am Worried on it, I just, it was so, I couldn't stop smiling when I watched that. I went to the cinema with my parents to watch it, and I will never forget the film. I will never forget my reaction. I was just smiling throughout, loving every minute of it. And I absolutely love the slight, sneaky little connections to the original films. And yeah, it just blew me away, you know. So that's why it's my number one of 2022. And it's been a
Yeah.
great year for film. It really has.
It
There's
has
been
been,
some dodgy ones, there have.
of
But I mean,
course,
that's every year ever in this industry. You never know what people are
precisely.
going to create. Everyone's got a creative opinion, and a very, very
Mm.
different one. So yeah, it's interesting to see what they were able to create this year. And we've got some really great films coming up next year. So I really
Yes,
cannot wait to see what that holds. So yeah,
me neither.
that was kind of everything for this episode. I think our top fives were pretty good films. So if you haven't seen them, and
And
series
shows,
as
and
well,
shows, and shows. We can't forget
and
and shows.
shows.
Blend.
Go and check them out. Go and check them out. We will list
Yes.
them in the description below, and you can also pause the screen on our top fives now if you are interested in looking them up. So yeah, go ahead and watch them and let us know what you thought of the films that you do end up watching. And the series and the shows. Never
And
forget the
everything. And
shows
everything.
and
And
everything.
everything.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know what you think and comment some recommendations for future content because it's always
Of
appreciated
course.
for sure.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was episode 8 of the production meeting podcast.
it
Please
was.
subscribe if you hasn't haven't already. And
Hit that bell notification, as well as please smash that like button. And again, this will be the final episode of 2022, and we are very excited for 2023. And as Jess said, please give us, suggestions and ideas, and we really do appreciate it. And we want to connect to you guys as much as possible, because we would like to put out the best content we can. And as just mentioned, the new year, there'll be new films that I'm sure that we're all excited for. So on that note, here's to the future, and I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. Here's to
Precisely.
2023. Hope you enjoyed the
Precisely.
podcast, and we will see you next time.
Time.
Goodbye.
Bye.